Hey guys, what's going on? It's Titan here once again, and we are back with how to get better in Black Ops 3 Part 2, where I am going to explain how to control spawns by spawn trapping the enemy, spawn flipping, and also spawn predictions. This video is pretty long, so if you enjoyed, please show some love and drop a like on this video, since it took me some time to put this together for you guys, and also share it if it's not too much to ask. Now, controlling spawns consists of multiple factors, and the very first one is understanding how spawns really work and how you and your team can control them by spawn trapping the enemy. Here are 3 clips that I managed to get on Nuketown, and they are a really good example of how spawn trapping works. Now, there are some things that you need to know about controlling the enemy spawns, and the first one is to never push too far into the enemy spawn. As you can see here, I am just a little bit further from mid-map, and that doesn't make the enemy spawn flip. If your teammates stay at the same exact range, your team will be able to keep the enemy team in spawn trap. As you can see in the gameplay, my team doesn't push up too far here. However, there's one guy that comes and pushed all the way into the enemy spawn. Now, in a second, we will talk about spawn flipping, but first, you will have to notice that my teammate who pushed in too far, he didn't manage to flip the enemy team at first. The only way he could flip the spawns was when he stood right on top of where the enemy spawn exactly is, which is that small area in Nuketown behind the wall, all the way at the back of the map. With making this decision, he forced the enemy team to spawn flip all the way to our flag, which then resulted in me dying for not paying too much attention to the minimap. The other 2 gameplays that you're seeing right now is the same game and the same match. The only difference is that my team wasn't pushing into the enemy spawn like the one before, and we were able to hold them in spawn trap. This is one of the ways that you and your team can control spawns, and it is really efficient. Granted, it is a little bit campy, however, you can always switch positions from the right side to the left side of the map or even to the middle, and this also gives you an idea of how spawn trapping actually works. Now, in the last spawn trap demonstration, you will see that the 2 of my teammates pushed a little bit further than where I was. One guy was sitting in the house, but the other guy tried to constantly push the enemy spawn. Now, you will notice that they didn't flip spawns since my teammate wasn't standing inside the enemy spawn like in the first demonstration, so that caused them not to flip spawns. Now, this can also happen to your team as well, so just briefly, I will explain one of the things that you can do to get out of spawn trap. You notice that usually people who are spawn trapping, they are never really watching the middle of the map. I also didn't really watch it too much, but I did manage to glance over it a couple of times. Now, the best way to break spawn trap is to rush down from your spawn towards the middle of the map and then kill at least one guy, and then you pretty much broke the spawn trap and your team can push up further since you just made the enemy spawn back at their own base again. The next factor that you need to know about controlling spawns is spawn flipping, when to do it and when you can do it. This gameplay again is a good demonstration of how spawn flipping works, and the first thing that you need to know about it is that you cannot flip spawns alone unless you literally sit on the top of the enemy spawn. Not on the flag, not close to their spawn, but literally at the spawn spot where they are spawning. This gameplay I demonstrate that I was almost on their flag and I killed them over and over again, but since I was alone, I didn't manage to spawn flip the enemy team and they just constantly were spawning on me. The only way I could have done it is if I would have been sitting at the back of their base behind the wall for a longer amount of time, or if there were at least 2 of my teammates with me, which is the next point. Now, in this gameplay that you're seeing again, I started working my way from mid-map all the way to the enemy spawn again. Remember what I said a couple of seconds ago? One guy cannot really flip spawns by himself, and in this demonstration, I started pushing into the enemy spawn alone, which shows that they were still spawning on me again. However, 2 of my other teammates decided to push with me. Once they did, the enemy spawn constantly flipped again. This is a really good demonstration since it backs up my other point that I said earlier. One guy cannot flip spawns, however, when your teammate comes with you, the game will realize that there is more than one guy in the enemy spawn, so it uses its other algorithm to place the enemy team at the other spawn location, which is more likely to be your other home flag. Now, you knowing this, it will make your life easier since you know what exactly happens and why it happens when you do certain things. This is all about controlling spawns, and it is crucial for you to know if you really want to beat the other team. Now, spawn trapping the enemy team is fun but also annoying for them. However, it will make you earn your score streaks in no time at all. Also, playing in a party is much better since then you can tell your team to not push too far into the enemy spawn, and from the start of the match all the way to the end, you guys can keep the enemy team in the spawn and just completely obliterate them. Also, knowing when to spawn flip is a good thing. I usually do it when I don't feel comfortable playing at my own flag and I want to flip the enemy spawn so I can play the game from their flag. Also, if I want some extra points that I need for my next score streak, I also push their spawn just to get the points from the flag. And I also know, and now you should too, that if you push their spawn alone, it's suicide, except if you play really smart and manage to get into the exact same spawn point of the enemy team. But if you push along with your team, it will be an instant flip as long as you kill the remaining enemy players in their spawn, because then they will insta flip. Now, shifting our attention from domination and looking at team deathmatch, suddenly the spawn algorithms changed. The reason being is because TDM has its very own spawn logic, which is way harder and can be really stupid and unorganized, since there's not really a set spawn of where the enemies actually spawn. In TDM, every individual player spawns at a different location. They don't spawn together, but they do spawn somewhat close to each other. In TDM, controlling the spawns consists of spawn predictions, where your minimap and using your brain will be your best friend, but I will explain to you how you can predict spawns with the gameplay demonstration and also how I do it. In this gameplay that you're watching, I predicted the enemy spawn for a pretty long time. Think back on domination, it is almost the same in team deathmatch. If your teammates are way behind you on the map and you pushed up ahead, you can expect people coming from ahead of you since there is only you there. As this gameplay shows, I was also alone for a long time and I went back and forth because wherever the majority of my teammates were, I knew that the enemy team won't spawn there with them. Instead, TDM spawn logic works in a way where it spawns the enemy team pretty close to your team, however still further than where more people are. If that is too complicated for you to understand, here's a brief example. If I am alone with a maximum of one more player with me here, then the enemy team is more likely to spawn here, since that is a huge empty space. Now the same thing is happening on the same map and the same game at this spot. As you can see, I am alone and my team is all the way at the back of the map. I pretty much predicted the enemy team spawn and I stood at this spot since the only logic was that they should be spawning at this empty space. However, I still died since I didn't really use cover. However, my spawn prediction was 100% accurate and they did spawn there. I just didn't really use cover the way I was supposed to. But spawn predicting again works by also watching your minimap, since if someone actually uses their thrusters and they boost jump and slide a lot, it will show up on the minimap as long as they don't use blast suppressor, which not a lot of people use these days. Also, in team deathmatch, spawn logic doesn't always work the same. You will also have to watch your back constantly since you will never know when someone will get behind you. But predicting enemy spawns is the most useful thing that you can do and use when you are playing, and it is also 80% accurate that the enemy will more likely spawn at an empty space on the map. Also, this knowledge you can also use if this happens to you. If you get spawn flipped and when you will get spawn flipped, and with a little bit of, thinking, you can also avoid this by just staying alive in your base or just simply hiding, which will prevent your team to spawn flip. With this knowledge, you should be able to control spawns. However, just like everything else, this requires practice and patience and also learning how to read the minimap. And Of course, do not forget to look at it every 3 to 5 seconds. But I really hope you guys enjoyed part 2 of how to get better at Black Ops 3, and if you did, make sure to drop a like and also subscribe if you are new. Thank you so much for watching, stay well, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.